Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Breld System. My name is Brett Held, and I'm here to talk to you about something very important. I'm here to talk to you today about perpetual adolescence. Perpetual adolescence. The current human condition of ignorant, arrested development, aged children, too petrified to think anything other than what they've been told by the ominous authority perception and the majority, whereby one's thoughts are caged by shackles of fear and desire, with responsibility avoided at all cost. The reason I make such a definition is because I truly do believe that this is the most important piece of information not being talked about in regards to the current condition of the human species. Every aspect of our life is being controlled and manipulated to keep us in the state of perpetual adolescence. Because it's a lot easier to control a child than it is to control an independent, free-thinking adult. And the adolescent isn't something that needs to be created. The adolescent is only something that needs to be maintained. Parents have been controlling adolescents since the beginning of time. So the playbook is out there. It's known how to control an adolescent. So, if you can maintain a public in the state of a perpetual adolescence, then you'll always know how to control them. And society's owners have one goal, and that is the control of the population. The perpetual adolescent is addicted to the dream-like nature and emotional comfort of constant naivete toward things of personal preference, as well as things they just don't want to believe. The tendency toward naivete is from a need for wish fulfillment that creates a blinder effect to anything that will contradict the false preferred narrative or hero worship at work in the mind of the perpetual adolescent. The perpetual adolescent wants to hear that what they think is correct. So, if you tell the perpetual adolescent what they want to hear, whether it makes sense or not, they will like what you're saying. If you say what they don't want to hear, then they will simply not believe you. This is why politicians only tell people what they want to hear and appeal to the emotions. So they'll generate the maximum individual support with minimal discernment or investigation of the actual truth. When the actual truth and reason finally defeat the ego, the maturation process inches towards that of true adulthood. The adolescent looks to deflect any blame and ownership of their ignorance and responsibility. The adolescent is absolutely terrified of any responsibility, since it would only leave them to blame if anything went wrong. The adolescent cannot admit their own wrongdoings, so the idea of being responsible for anything at all potentially threatens their safe little perception. The adolescent has a sense of entitlement simply for being born. The adolescent has a competitive spirit out of their insecurities and need for acceptable appearances amongst peers. The adolescent values are centered on the self and fear of being left out of something or being left without something they may want or need. Conversely, the adult mind is centered on the truth, responsibility, and love, even in the face of personal sacrifice. The adolescent knows nothing of self-sacrifice for being paralyzed by personal fears. The adolescent engages in hero worship as a result of not wanting to be responsible for committing themselves and having enough personal courage to fight and or strive for what's righteous in their own lives. The hero will rescue the adolescent from their own ignorance, preventing them from ever having to do any personal work needed to achieve the goals the perpetual adolescent may wish to achieve. The perception of the adolescent is mainly selfish, narrow, and based in wish fulfillment, frequently having little to do with reality, making them easily manipulated and deceived. The adolescent can show no compassion for anything in the face of their own fear or desire. The all-encompassing self of the adolescent makes them egocentric, ignorant, predictable, and trapped in a constant cognitive dissonance with reality in order to maintain such a state. The adolescent mind is preoccupied with competition and sport due to their propensity to value themselves solely on how they compare to others. "I'm the best," and "you are a loser," are phrases the adolescent will cling to in order to assess value in their lives and support their own fragile ego. The willful ignorance of the adolescent is required in order for their own small perception of the world to seem legitimate and to maintain the illusion that their perception is real and in line with the truth, thus promoting the constant cognitive dissonance required to adequately function with a perception so far removed from reality. The perception divergence from the truth and reality will inevitably grow as the state of adolescence continues over time, and it will become more and more difficult for the adolescent mind to maintain the illusion that their perception is in any way still connected to the truth. Desperate means will then ensue for the perpetual adolescent to maintain the mental illusion when the state of adolescence reaches the later days in life, and truth begins to directly contradict the aged adolescent's mental narrative. If a critical mass mental point is then reached in the adolescent, they will either step firstly into adulthood toward nature, or deeply into denial and heavy layers of cognitive dissonance, stunting all mental growth and slowly slipping into psychosis. Does this sound like anyone you know? Or does it sound like most of the people that you know? It is my contention that this perpetual adolescence is not by accident, but maliciously engineered by the owners of our degenerate society to keep us in a perpetual state of mind control. This method of mind control via perpetual adolescence is an all-encompassing one. The next time you can't understand why people are so ignorant, remember that the adolescent perception is the all-pervading controller of the thoughts and actions of most individuals in our society. Chronological age is of little consequence in this condition of perpetual adolescence, or children of all ages. The retarded mental condition of all people is the desired end for the owners of society to maintain the acquiescence required by all people to maintain their dominance of the masses. An adolescent condition caused and cloaked as a choice that you were only given by secret code to the subconscious. Those who understand the code get to understand the choice. The rest are funneled to choose subconsciously to remain adolescents, generating a supposed karmic freeing of the perpetrators in this mental manipulation, supposedly shielding them from the natural law of cause and effect. The belief in authority is what keeps people in a controlled adolescent state of fear. A fully responsible adult needs no outside authority to do the right moral action, since that courage is built into the adult's natural state of ultimate responsibility. There is no state of chaos in a society of responsible adults living according to the truth and natural law. Thus, no need for protection from a supposed inevitable chaos, since the true adult nature is in direct opposition to such a condition.